All right, welcome in. Latest episode of that SEC podcast brought to you by Twisted Tea and My Bookie. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And right here's cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, you old walking cousin?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, bad.
Oh, man. The Grim Reaper's in the house.
Yeah, what's this?
All right,
I don't know where to begin. What's
All right.
what's with this sweater?
let's get over to Deion Sanders look here for a second. MIZ, that's where it's at. Look at that homemade jersey.
Ooh.
You know why? Because Mizzou doesn't mess around. They ain't got time for that shit. They ain't got time to go shopping, Mike. The champs. They're out here beating top 16 teams. They're a duct tape crew. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That my shirt's not in yet, so this is what I had to do. But I will say, I'm not going to be doom and gloom. I've sulked long enough, Mike. I think I'm coming through. I see the light at the end of the tunnel when I get past these 13 fucking miles I got to do. But after maybe that's the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, is me attempting the 13-mile walk. But yeah, it was a rough weekend for some. Arkansas fans, again, I apologize. I can't believe I went 0 for 7 on locks, but my God, if you're not on my bookie right now and fading these picks, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You should be on a yacht somewhere counting your money from all the money I'm making, or I should say all the money I'm losing. So,
Yeah.
and then, of course, my Tennessee Vols. Had to retire my Joe Milton Cup. I'm off that wagon. But I'm still a Vol, and we're used to losing in the swamp 21 years. So here's to you, Vol fans.
It was a rough one, Shane.
Yeah.
It was a rough one. Now people are saying the video's not great. I don't know. There's nothing we can do at this point, Shane.
It is what it is.
But, all right, I don't even know where to begin, Shane. Where should we begin? I think we have to start because people want to know with the walking, with our
Yeah.
guaranteeing Tennessee would win.
Yes. Yeah,
And
let's get that one
That
out.
was far from a guarantee, Shane, and I'm going to give it to Billy Napier and company, 29-16, big win in the swamp.
Yeah.
Coach of the week. It's got to be Billy Napier, right? I mean, winning, getting
Yeah.
his team ready. They've come so far from week one where they look like the worst team in the country. Mm-hmm. Of course, had only been 2 teams played, so maybe we overreacted a little bit there. But a dominant win, winning in the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And Graham Mertz looked great. Trevor Etienne, 172 yards, a touchdown. And, I mean, it was almost scripted, Shane, the way Tennessee came out. Started hot, stopped. Mm-hmm. Well, Florida went up and down the field, but I believe they missed a field goal.
Yeah.
Tennessee came out, scored a touchdown right away, took 2 minutes off the clock. You'd think, my God, we nailed another one.
This
you know
is
what?
it.
But that's not what happened.
That was the best tweet I sent out. You know what I'm saying? And I don't wish for injuries, but the guy that was kicking our ass there on their first opening drive was even going to the locker room right after we scored 7. And you're just like, all right, this is it. This is the year. It's the year Tennessee Vols are going to win down in the swamp. But if you're a Vol fan, like a real Vol fan, everybody had to have that feeling, you know?
Right.
Like we've seen this story before because we have. There's been a lot of times we've had some good showings down there in Gainesville only to find a way to lose. And it just felt like the wind came out of our sails right after that touchdown. I don't know. It just, the wheels fell off. The defense couldn't get off the field. There was just, it was a tale of two halves. I really do think Banks and company kind of figured out this defense. Unfortunately, it was too late in the game.
Yeah.
You know, there was no answer for anybody that was moving in motion, and a lot of missed tackles and miscues and misplacement. And it just, I don't know. For all the compliments that we gave Tennessee's defense the first 2 weeks, it's like right out the window. And then all the shit we've put on Florida on their offense, you throw that out there with it, because say what you want, Mike, they were complete control of that game. And if they wanted to, they could have scored more points in the second half, I think.
Yeah, well, I think they were saying on the broadcast that Graham Mertz, his finger was jacked up. and he was bleeding, so he couldn't even throw the freaking football.
Of course, yeah. We got a quarterback out there and ain't got a hand. You know what I'm saying? And we still are going to lose. Nobody is behind Mertz. I mean, I'm sure they've got a soul, back there, a warm body to put in. They're extremely thin in that position, so that's a little alarming for Florida moving forward. But for what Florida really struggles with, Tennessee wasn't able to attack for some reason. The worry for Gainesville or for the team down there was competitive depth late in the game, But this defense, man, you talk about rested. When you keep going 3 and out, 3 and out, and 3 and out, man, these guys, they had plenty of energy to go in the second half. So the only way they have energy was the running backs because you know what I'm saying, they had over 200 yards. So yeah, it was a terrible, terrible performance as a Vol fan, but. For Gators out there, you got me. All right, you got me. All right, and I'm not gonna lie. At the end, I didn't even care if we won because I knew we weren't. I was just hoping like we're down there in the red zone, kick a field goal. That's 3 miles I don't have to do. You know what I'm saying? I got to that point.
Right.
A deal's a deal, and everybody's asking when you walking. Well, I'm off Tuesday, so Tuesday will be the walking day. I'm going to live stream every mile. So, and I'm going to name it 13 reasons we should have won the game. So every mile, Mike, I'm going to come out with a new reason as I'm, potentially dead. I don't know. I knew Tennessee would kill me one day. You know what I'm saying? So I'll notify EMS. Lifestar will be on alert. But I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do my damnedest to fulfill this debt, this obligation that I promised out there. 13 freaking miles. So.
Mm-hmm. So where does this leave us? Let's start, I guess, with Tennessee, Shane. Do you think they need to be going so damn fast if it doesn't look like they trust Joe Milton to throw the ball? Their offensive line is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I think on the road, you need to not go as fast because communication is an issue. They're leaving their defense out to dry. I think that was the problem with the defense in the first half. I think they were just gassed. Yeah. They were missing tackles left and right at the end of the second quarter. They were just out of juice. They charged back up in halftime, and in the second half they looked a lot better. It's just different. If Joe Milton is not running it effective, why the hell are we going so fast? Maybe play a little bit of Billy Ball, or is that just completely out of the DNA of Heupel? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's out of the DNA. That's what this to make this offense work. You've got to be fast because you're catching the defense off guard. You're catching them out of place. You're, hopefully catching 12, 13 men on the field during a quick substitution. That's how this is supposed to work and scripted. But yeah, I get it. It's frustrating when you go 3 and out, but this is a team that is going to get plenty of opportunities to score points. So yeah, one drive you go 3 and out. Don't hang your head because the next time you make 6 plays, find yourself in the end zone. They showed that right there on the opening drive. So I'm not changing this offense because to slow it down for the defense. I think that defeats the purpose. Heupel is very aggressive. So in my mind, you've got four opportunities to get 10 yards. The problem Tennessee ran into at the start is stupid penalties, false starts, and just stupid shit that lingered around. And next thing you know, you're playing behind the chains, and it's a little bit tougher to get 15 yards because then if you don't, you're punting. So, I don't know. There's clearly something not working, and I don't like to point fingers. I don't like to blame anybody in particular, but it is kind of funny how this playbook has changed so much from last year to this year. And I think it's based on what they think their quarterback can do. And, there was a few downfield throws, but still not that much. You think last year with Hendon Hooker, there was several downfield opportunities. It's like the middle of the field was off limits for some reason during a couple of these quarters. It was if it's not a bubble screen over here or a quick draw over, up the gut, it's like there's no other plays. So, I don't know how much that is Heupel's fault. How much is that is, just not trusting Joe or trusting this offensive line, which at times was just god awful. So, but I say all that to say that we still need to highlight the game that Florida played, because even when they were out there on offense, man, it felt like they were ahead of, like, it's almost like they had 1st and 5 every time, every time they were moving forward, and they had an answer for this defense. So Tennessee was just not prepared.
Well, all in the comments, Shane, they're wondering, is it time to bench Joe Milton for old Nico? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, you know me.
They're already saying, Cousin Shane scalded for
I'm
him.
on the Nico wagon. And it's not so much that I think he's going to be a better arm, a better playmaker. One thing I can guarantee you, though, is he's a better runner. And I think that's the biggest thing the Vols are missing here, is there is no respect for Joe Milton's legs.
Yeah.
In fact, they made an interesting stat. I don't even know if it's true. It sounded so bizarre that I couldn't believe it. The inaccuracy of Joe Milton when he's running, it's like it goes down to like a small percent of completion. So that's the problem, because if they are loading up on the wide receivers and right up the gut, that was what made Hendon Hooker so special, was the ability to say, hey, I don't have it, I'm going to go get it. And next thing you know, he's 15 yards down the field. Moving the chains is very, very important for this offense. You go 3 and out. To avoid going 3 and out is maybe you need a game manager back there that can just get you the first down and get some of that pressure off the defense. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I gave you a shot, Joe. I drank out of your cup for 2 weeks, but I'm off, man. I want to see, and even if it's not Nico, I just want to see somebody back there that's a play. Even though we know it's Nico, I want to see somebody back there that's a playmaker with his legs.
Yeah. Well, what about this though, Shane? Because even if it is Nico or whoever, can this offensive line even protect for him? I mean, that's a real question. Where has this toughness gone on this offensive line? Because it seemed like every rushing yard Tennessee got, it was like they had to earn every damn inch of that.
Yeah.
The line wasn't playing. I know Cooper Mays didn't play, but that seems like a real issue. And where are these receivers at? They're supposed to be, we heard so many great things about these receivers. They couldn't get any separation. It seemed like the whole operation was, it looked almost like the Austin Peay game outside of a couple drives.
Well, again, they're not on the field that long. So when you look at guys like, what's his name, Taylor and Watson, I mean, these are big dudes, man. I'm talking just monsters. But how you get those monsters off the field, or how you get them out of the box and defend it, I mean, you keep moving the chains. You keep them on the field. You keep them moving down the field. And you do that, and guess what? Those big bastards, they ain't so productive anymore. But when they just got 3 downs to stop you, yeah, not hard to stop them. They're leaning forward. They're going to kick our offensive line's ass every single time. But, that the recipe's out there on how to beat Tennessee. And the bad news is it's been out there since week 2.
Yeah. Well, Shane, we asked callers to call in and give some reactions. So we got 2 real quick. One, Florida. They're fired up, Shane. They want you out there stepping. Let's kick it over to this first Florida fan.
Nikes, Reeboks, Adidas, Puma, Stacey Adams, Sperry's, Crocs, whatever shoes you got to wear, because it's Shane, get to stepping. I said something, or you said something, I don't know, boy. We spoke in that ball pack tonight, baby. How about them Gators? Buzz Cut, Billy, buzzing all y'all motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, Shane, so get to stepping there, saying, but again, you explain. You'll do that on your day off, but we got a million of those online on Twitter. You know what?
I couldn't even get online. Like after I sent out my Johnny Cash Hurt song,
yeah,
I was like, I really need to get offline, because I will say this: there were some pretty creative comments, but also a lot of repetitive ones. So I was like, you know what? I'll get off this. We'll do the live video. I'll explain when I'm going to do the walk-in. So again, that's Tuesday. A lot of people thought, I guess, after that game, I was just going to start like, Forrest Gump or something. So.
All right. And then this Tennessee fan, he wants to know, are the Vols missing Alex Golesh?
I think the biggest question posed after halftime as a Tennessee fan is, how much do they really miss Alex Golesh? How much do we really miss Alex Golesh? Obviously Florida's outmanned, out-physicaled the team. As a whole, obviously, but with the play calling, how much do we miss Alex Golesh? And it really was a little out of character the way that Josh Heupel just played the end of the half. Why do you run the clock down? Why do you run the clock down and take a time out there at midfield? And, you know, when you got the strongest arm in football, I'm just really, really concerned as to why they're kind of keeping Joe Milton at bay in that situation. I mean, that's what you have him for. That's what he's the best for. So, I mean, you know, I'll turn that over to you guys.
All right, Shane. So what's your thoughts on that? Tennessee missing offensive coordinator Alex Golesh?
Well, it's hard to watch a game like that, which we're going to get to, Alabama, and say that's not part of the problem. You know, it's frustrating when you got to watch it last year and this year. It's clearly two different products that we're seeing on this field. We had our hopes up that was going to be a continuation. And I don't want to put all the pressure on Joe Milton, okay? These receivers got no separation. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't – you could tell there is a noticeable difference in speed this year than last. Mm-hmm. You know, so maybe that's part of the problem. Now, we got some big dudes out there. I thought Thornton looked good at times, and I thought, you know, Brew looked good at times. But, you know, Squirrel was the only speed that was out there, and he can only do so much. He's so tiny, so –
right.
I don't know, man. Tennessee's got a lot of problems, and I just think that Florida has figured it out. You know, from what they've done from week 1 to week 3 that's coaching, man. I mean, say what you want. That's just straight up good football coaching there.
Right. So let me ask you this too, because I want to do this for all 3 SEC games we got this week. Who did we learn more about? And you don't have to agree with me at all. Did we learn more about Tennessee in this matchup? Did we learn more about Florida in this matchup? And to me, Shane, I think I have to go Tennessee because I thought Tennessee was a hell of a lot better than what they showed heading in. I know they sucked during Austin Peay too, but I thought that was kind of a look ahead trap game. But again, they got dominated on line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. Joe Milton, it doesn't seem like they trust him. The defense I thought was great. They sure as hell weren't great all Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it was the environment, but Florida physically whipped them on the line of scrimmage. The receivers didn't look like they have a single difference maker. So to me, again, I'm sure the comments are going to light up. Well, can't give Florida credit for nothing. I get it, but to me, I learned more about Tennessee. I don't want to. I mean, fraud is a strong word, but I mean they were a fraud on Saturday night. So to me, I learned more about Tennessee. What about you, Tennessee? Or did you learn more about Florida bouncing back in a huge way from just 2 weeks ago looking like a national laughingstock?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think I'm going to lean more toward Florida. Mm-hmm. Tennessee.
Yeah, get them on me. Get them on me.
I don't know why you hate them so bad. You know, I'm the one that's walking 13 miles, Mike. But I'll say this, brother. There was an identity problem with Florida week 1.
Yeah.
There wasn't in week 2. There definitely wasn't in week 3. This is a running team, and they are going to run through you, around you. They're going to find ways to orchestrate rushing yards, and that has freed up Mertz to make some of those plays. We don't need Mertz to come out here and do like he did with Utah and throw 95% of the time. That's not in the DNA of this team.
Yeah.
But once they get some downfield running, watch out. My only concern with the Gators is the depth. What does it look like later in the season? But you got to also remember this is a young team, and a young team is going to grow throughout the season. And I think we already see some of that. So, I think Florida is definitely going to a bowl. People weren't thinking they were week 1,
yeah.
and
remember the over-opener is 5.5.
Dude, they didn't just win against a number 11. Are we 11? Were we 11?
Yeah, not
11
anymore.
team in the country. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They kicked their ass, and so why would you think that looking at their schedule they can't do that to any of the other teams that are on that one? You know, so
right.
Yeah, I'm back on the Florida bandwagon, and I hate to say it because. It's been nice them being down there, but you can't count these boys out anymore.
Right. Well, Shade, I hate we could talk Tennessee losing all night here,
I know,
but we got a bunch of Mizzou fans in the comments, Shade. I thought that was the game of the day. I know it was not an SEC. We want to get to all these SEC games. We'll get to them in a minute. But Missouri, Shane, 30, Kansas State 27 in a back and forth game. It was a hell of a game. And special teams player of the week, we got to give it to Harrison Mevis. 61-yard field goal, the longest field goal in SEC history. Bails out Coach Drink. But Brady Cook, too, he had a hell of a performance. Luther Burden, he looks like the most gifted receiver in the country. And this is, Shane, look at some of these stats. Kansas State won the rushing advantage big time.
Yeah.
138-74. In the red zone, something I love to point out, Kansas State was better. 4 for 4, 24 points. Mizzou, 3 of 3 for 13 points. Third down, Kansas State, 8 of 17. Missouri, 3 of 13. So I'm not sitting here saying Missouri's lucky, because I would never say that.
Yeah.
I think they are who you said they were. But I think the point is it's very difficult to win a ball game when you're behind in some of these key metrics, yet Missouri found a way to do it at home. Biggest win of the Drinkwitz era. All the credit in the world to Brady Cook, who the fans booed, and we'll get to that in a minute. Drink was pissed as hell. The thicker kicker, Luther Burden, everything's coming together. And credit to you, brother, for being among those that saw it when no one else did.
Absolutely. Congratulations, guys. What is it, number 16 they take down here?
Yeah.
And you know, I shit on Kansas State. Kansas State's a pretty good program. I like this quarterback.
Yeah.
This may be one of the best quarterbacks they face all year long. Tremendous athlete. But this defense did exactly what we needed to. They slowed them down just enough. And I think that was the part that was frustrating for me. Was the creative play calling I saw from Kansas State, and why weren't we getting that from Mizzou at times? Brady put it on his shoulders. He went out there and, I mean, he laid it on the line.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the boos. I've talked to people that were at the game, didn't hear the boos, so I don't know. I don't know if that was there. You know, Drink comes out and whatever. You know, there's some things you need to say to a fan base and some things you don't, you know, and you're going to play a video here in a minute. And I don't really agree with it, because who gives a shit? You know, it's already been done. Let's celebrate the big victory you just had over a top 16 team in the country. Let's celebrate, you know, because you were this close. Drink was this close to being fired. You know, that say what you want. The delay of game right before this kick was almost the nail in the coffin. You know what I'm saying? And
we got people in the comments. They were like, "Oh, we were booing."
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you weren't at the end of the game.
Right,
you know,
right.
as we're storming the field. That's what you needed. You got to have more games like this. Signature wins. You're 3-0. You'll be a top. Are they top 25 this year or this week?
No.
Well, that's bullshit.
They should be.
They should be. And they will be if they keep it up. The thicker kicker, I'm back on his wagon, you know. It's so funny because 35-yard field goal, I'm more worried about him kicking a 35-yard field goal than I am him a 61, you know. But there was no doubt in my mind he was going to make that, and it was a hell of a game. I wish we could have been there to experience it.
Yeah, and so let's kick it over to that real quick. Eli, after the game, he was none too happy.
I'm going to say it. It pissed me off when we booed our starting quarterback to start the game. That pissed me off. And he went out there and played his butt off for this university and this team. They need to get behind him. We need to get behind the young man. You want to boo me, fine. You don't boo the starting quarterback. It's bull crap. I'll say it again. It should never happen.
Right, Shane. So
I'm a man. I'm 40. That's the number one comment, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it. Maybe right after your biggest win of your. I just think that was like him getting, you know, he had this monkey getting it off his chest, so to speak. That, you know, because people were saying you're out, hottest seat, fans out on him, and not only him but Brady, who's his chosen son apparently, and all this.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get the frustration, but I think you're right. I think maybe you come out and just, if you're really that pissed off about it, just come out and be like, you know, some of you were not. This was not your guy, but I hope he's your guy now. Something like that. You know what I mean? Rather than just bashing the fans.
That's the thing. Eli works for these fans.
Right.
The fans don't work for him. So who gives a shit what he thinks or feels? You know, the feelings doesn't matter. What matters is victories, and you just got one over a top 20 team.
Yep.
So just keep doing that, and there'll be less booze in your stadium.
Yeah. And Shane, we also got more calls. Well, we got the. Let's do the radio call, should we?
Yeah.
The radio call of Harrison Mevis, Mizzou official radio, calling the game-winning field goal.
61-yard attempt from Harrison Mevis just to the right of the left hash. Out of the hole to Luke Bauer with 3 seconds to play in regulation, tied at 27. Good snap, good place. Kick is up. It is... Yes! Oh, a walk-off winner from 61. Harrison Mevis sends the Mizzou students running onto the turf as Missouri wins it on a 61-yard field goal by Harrison Mevis.
All right, Shane. So, I mean, we were just joking there. Get to relive that. I mean, that was the moment the SEC. Mizzou has saved. Well, I don't know if you can save the SEC's reputation at this point in time, but they're doing their part to beat a ranked team, Kansas State. And here's one thing that I want to see, Shane. I want to see. Let's pull up their schedule here, Mizzou. Every game, I want to see that kind of fan showing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't always get that. And we got our next home game. You know, we got Memphis and St. Louis, but the next home game at Vanderbilt and then home for LSU. That's the one these fans have got circled for literally for 6 months. They've been telling us, can we get game day? You know, LSU, now all of a sudden that looks like a formidable game. If you're going to beat LSU, these fans have got to show up. They've got to, you know, go out of their mind like the rest of the SEC does for their teams during a big game. That's huge. It's going to the team needs the fans in this LSU game, don't you think?
Yeah, and I felt like we were here. You know, I felt like there was a lot of emotion. Now there was a lot of Kansas State fans that snuck in there somehow.
Right.
So you can't be selling them tickets. You know what I'm saying? You got, especially home field advantage. But you're right. This team is on the right path. They got two. I don't want to say never. There's no more cupcakes. You know, Vanderbilt. Say what you want. You could lose to them. Memphis. You could lose to them. But you could also come out here and you could kick their ass. And then all of a sudden you're 5-0 going into LSU game. I mean, you want to talk about everybody looking at you again? That's what you're doing. So. You can't, we're not there. We haven't arrived. I think that's what needs to be the message during practice, is because there's always that natural letdown after games like this. And you look at Drink's history, this is what we lose some of these games. So can't do that. This isn't 2 years ago. This isn't last year. This is a program that's got some great things ahead of them. So keep the foot down on the gas, man.
And I would say this, Shane. I mean, yes, Missouri should be ranked. I think it's stupid that they're not. I called for them to be ranked the moment they won that game. But I bet you Eli loves that they're not.
I'm sure.
Sell that.
He does, yeah.
Another disrespect.
Absolutely.
They ain't going to rank you over this. They're not going to rank you for wins over Memphis and Vanderbilt. So they may even be unranked when they play. Now, they shouldn't be. But if they keep winning, especially if they're not dominating those games or what have you, they may not be ranked when LSU comes to town, and LSU will be top 10. I mean, that sets up perfectly, I think, if you're trying to do an upset special. You know,
absolutely. They'll be ranked, man. They'll be top 25 next week.
What if they win the SEC and they're not ranked, Shane?
Like they hate Mizzou that bad, you know, or us, since we've promoted them so well. But no, I'm all in on Mizzou, and like I said, I apologize, but. You know what? I kind of like this look, Mike. You know, this may be the next big thing.
And like I said, we got some. We asked for fan calls, reactions. We got 2 great ones from Missouri. Shane is apparently in one of y'all's wills now, so let's kick over. There's 2 calls put together.
How about that fat kicker, cousin Shane? How about him? Hey, when the Vols come down to Columbia. Let's touch base, man. Let's get you set up with a thicker kicker burger at Big 12 Bar and Grill and a fucking ice cold pitcher of beer, baby. M-I-Z.
Hey, cousin Mike, cousin Shane, this is Uncle Jerry calling you. Just finished watching that Mizzou game, and Harrison Mevis may have just saved Drinkwitz's butt right after that dumb delay a penalty. That's just, there's no excuse for that. But, man, it was a great game, and Mevis deserves some credit, and Brady Cook was awesome today. You got to give that kid a lot of credit as well, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Come on now.
So what? Hey, did you ever think we started this show? I mean, I know they're joking, but you're in someone's will.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's awesome. I will say, because a lot of people didn't believe in Mizzou. I mean, obviously they do now.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of, big media personalities make their way out there this week. Nobody was doing that week one. Nobody was saying anything good about this team. So, yeah, that's why I joked about the duct tape. That's just kind of who they are. They are just they're not the flashy teams. They're not going out here and look at me and look what I did and stuff like that. They're just going out there and they're winning football games. Now, is it ugly and sloppy at times? Absolutely, but it does not matter, Mike, because there's a lot of teams in the SEC that would kill to be 3-0 right now, and they're not.
Yep.
So yeah, this is it's like a proud dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw potential all the time. They said I wasn't going to be an astronaut. Look at me now.
All right, Shane, back to conference play. Georgia beats South Carolina 24-14. This was actually a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Gamecocks come right out, score on the opening possession. Unfortunately, Juice Wells injured, broken bone in his foot. They scored again right before halftime to make it 14-3. Georgia looking sloppy. Georgia looking, I don't want to say disinterested. I think South Carolina went out there and kind of took it from them. Spencer Rattler, I'll say it now, and fans have been calling me out on it, and they're absolutely right. He's the best quarterback in the SEC and right now this season. And his final, so stupid, Shane. People saying, "Well, my God, he 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions." Well, he's got no help. They got no running game.
Yeah.
They were playing from behind in the second half. So, yeah, the final stats may not look pretty, but if you're just looking at that, you didn't watch the damn game. Spencer Rattler he's putting that damn team on his back.
Yeah.
And he damn near carried him, at least for a half, to an upset of the number 1 team in the country on the road, outclassed the Georgia Bulldogs for a half. Now, Georgia, second half, 21-0, dominated the football game. Significantly better team, better roster. So, that's true. Carson Beck, I think this is, Kirby would have never wanted his team to get down, but I don't think he's upset that they did, and that Carson Beck had to prove something. And he went 27 of 35 for 269 yards, no interceptions. That's the critical point there. Manufacturing the offense. I didn't realize this, but Mike Griffiths has been saying Brock Bowers, he's hurt. He's hurt. He probably shouldn't be playing. He says he's that hurt. Yet he's out there. Lad McConkey's obviously out. They've been banged up at running back. Yeah. So they've got players missing in the lineup. So I get all that. So we got a
Mims went down.
Mims, yeah, he may be out for a significant portion. But again, this is a team that woke up in the second half, looked like the number 1 team in the nation in the second half, didn't look like it in the first half, and I don't think they look like it all year. But maybe this was the wake-up call they needed. What was your thoughts on Georgia beating South Carolina by 10? And remember, they were a 27-point favorite. Lock of the week, by the way. Uh-oh, got it right.
Well, I'll tell you, man, it kind of surprised me. I think it surprised everybody, maybe other than Spencer's parents or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I never thought that this would be close at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but he had full control, and Lord knows what happened if Juice stayed healthy, or Leggett, you were talking about Burton. I literally think I think he is, if not, I mean, there's Neighbors, there's Burton, I would say those two, but Leggett is number 3 in that, or he's in that mix. You could even make an argument he's the best receiver in the country. He's just that damn good. And Spencer is dialed in, and it sucks because you look at South Carolina teams in the past, and it's like, man, you'd kill for a Lattimore right now, or just some sort of game changer back there in the backfield. They just don't have that, and that's why all the pressure is on Spencer Rattler. This offensive line, You know, they just played the best defense that they're probably going to see this entire year, and they did pretty damn good, man.
Yeah.
But again, the reason that Kirby is so good is not only can he recruit, but he can coach. And the halftime adjustments he was able to make is why he's one of the best and will always be the best in the business, man. Georgia came out like a totally different. I would love nothing more than have the audio tape of that halftime speech, because I'm sure it wasn't butterflies and rainbows, you know what I'm saying? There was some ass chewing going on, and those boys came out like their hair was on fire and reminded everybody real quick on why they are going to be national champ, maybe three-time national champs.
Yeah. Well, all right, so let me ask you the same thing. Again, I wanted to do this for all the SEC games. Who do we learn more about in this matchup? South Carolina, everybody's talking about how bad they sucked after the week one. No offensive. I mean, how many times do we hear, Spencer Rattler, he's going to get killed. He's going to be playing on his back. Well, he damn, to me, looked like a Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
Playing against Georgia.
Absolutely.
So that all went out the window. Beamer ball, everybody likes to make fun of Beamer that doesn't like him. He outcoached Kirby for a half of football. So did you learn more about South Carolina? And all of a sudden, you look at South Carolina's schedule. I mean, again, you said it brilliantly there. That's the toughest defense they're going to face. That's the toughest game in Athens. I mean, they got Mississippi State next. We'll get to them, but, I mean, surely to God they can beat them. Tennessee doesn't look as formidable. You get Florida at home. I mean, and the complete second half, aside from at Mizzou and at A&M, which they could win. I'm not saying they can't win those games, but many, many winnable games here. South Carolina could go on a real run. Or did you learn more about Georgia, who woke up, looked dominant in the second half, starting to get a couple pieces back? We got to finally see Carson Beck in some meaningful action that really can kind of show us who he is as a starting quarterback. Who did you learn more in this 24-14 game, Georgia or South Carolina?
I think South Carolina. I wanted to say Georgia, obviously, just because of how they turned it on in the second half. But it's almost like that's a system, you know,
Right.
and we put in a few pieces here and there, and, you know, we've got some injuries, but we'll work it out. Georgia's going to be fine. South Carolina, on the other hand, went to Athens and almost – I mean, you said it before we got on air, man. If that game would have been in Columbia, you know, we may have had a different outcome. So
Right.
because I immediately erased the schedule after this game. I was one of those that said they're probably going to lose Mississippi State. They're going to get their asses handed to them by the Tennessee Volunteers. Florida probably going to get their, you know. So I just that's the mentality I had. But after Furman, after this game, as long as Spencer's healthy, and health is the biggest concern for me, because the pieces they do have, they cannot afford to lose anymore. But as long as they can keep those guys healthy, South Carolina's going to win a lot of football games this year, Mike. So I learned more from the Gamecocks than I did Georgia.
And I'll tell you why you're wrong. That's a fine answer, Shay. But I'm going Georgia because, again, their fans are all over me because I'm saying they're not number one in the country. They've not earned that. But they sure as hell look like it in the second half.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll wake them up, and they'll just steamroll everybody. Of course, these Florida fans, now they're getting spicy. They're like, I think we can take down Georgia. I don't know about that. But, I think we learned a little bit more about Georgia. But, yeah, I can't disagree with anything you just said. I mean, I think, and, hey, credit. You know, we've been making fun of Beamer for his damn hot dog, corn dog, whatever he was
Chili
saying.
dog.
Chili dog comments. But he was right when he said, hey, get your shots in.
Yeah.
Because this offensive line is going to play better. And not like they were incredible. They still can't run the ball because they don't have they can't. But Spencer Rattler didn't get killed either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're getting a little bit better. Playmakers are emerging. Defense looking more stout. So, yes. I mean, there's no wrong answer here. But to me, I think it's Georgia. If they continue to play like they played in the second half, they will win another national championship. Because I don't think anyone can play with that team when they're engaged and they're locked in. And again, they're missing several key players. Now, I hate when people say that.
Yeah.
Because it's like we just assume that these are like robots or something, and they're just like, oh, we just put them back on the field. They're good. No, players get banged up.
Yeah.
And nagging things become season-long things. And if you get a guy and he's only 70% healthy and he's out there, that's not the same player as him at 100%. and so on. So we can't just assume that they'll get these guys back and they'll be locked in and ready to go. But if they can get them there, and I assume that's the whole point of them sitting out, they feel like they can win these games without these guys. Maybe after Saturday they're saying, "Oh, maybe not," because they. While it's true, South Carolina's not going to face a better defense than Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Georgia's going to face much tougher tests than South Carolina.
Yeah.
They may not face a better quarterback, but I think they'll face tougher overall tests at some point this season.
I agree. I agree with that. And again, one of the things we were talking about is comparing these two teams. I will say with these teams compared to the rest of the SEC, further along than 80% of them. You know, so these two teams they're on track, and if they can continue that, a lot of wins coming from both of them.
All right, Shane. How about the other SEC matchup here? LSU just dog whips Mississippi State 41-14 in Starkville.
Yeah.
SEC Nation. This was a big time game here that Dawgs were hoping this will be their coming out party. I'm giving Offensive Player of the Week, co-players of the week. I couldn't decide between them, Shane. Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors. Jaden Daniels, 30 of 34, 361 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He started, Shane, 21 of 22, looking like Aaron Rodgers out there. But Malik Neighbors was just as good. He was unguardable. 13 catches, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. And they basically just stopped throwing it to him after the first half because they were like, we got to let other players score. We got to let these other guys get touches. So just a masterful performance. This is the LSU I thought we were getting. Unfortunately, they didn't necessarily show that in the opener, but that's all right. I said I was back on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting the panic button. I mean, maybe it's a little early, but I'm hitting the panic button for Mississippi State, Shane. Will Rogers, 11 of 28, 103 passing yards, lowest of his career. And he just, I said the same thing on the show leading up to this game, but he does not look comfortable.
No.
It does not look like this offense suits him. It does not look like he's on the same page with the coordinators or hell, hardly any of the players on there. So, again, the season's not over, but I figured if LSU could lock down Mississippi State's running attack, they would have no prayer in this game.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize the defense was just going to, we were talking, remember on our mailbag show, we said, hell, top 3 defenses in the SEC. I threw Mississippi State in there. Sure as hell don't look like it at this point in time, but maybe that's, again, a credit to LSU more than anything. But just a shellacking here. And again, we'll get to Alabama in a minute. All of a sudden, it's not crazy anymore to say LSU looks like the team to beat in the West. That may be looking ahead a little too much. But thoughts on this one, LSU 41, Mississippi State 14.
Well, LSU is back, and they didn't stop. It was, I don't know, it was almost like they were taking out their Florida State frustration on Mississippi State. And I don't know if it's the colors or they had flashbacks or something like that, but Mississippi State had no offense. And it was almost, it was a tough watch, man. Seriously, when they were on the field, it was a tough watch. Barely over 100 yards passing, barely over 100 yards rushing, the running back. So it's just, you can't win. They're not going to be able to win any games playing that way. And I told you last week, it felt like they were playing scared. It felt like they were playing more scared this week. Kudos to LSU coming out here, not just opening up with Daniels, but the defense especially, moving Perkins around, he was again a factor. Loved seeing that, living in the backfield. I think he had a sack or two, a couple tackles for losses. He was a terror again, and that's what LSU needed week 1. So it's all aspects. LSU's back, and they really can compete for the West Championship. We said last week we didn't know, who's going to be the team. This is the team right now, Mike. LSU's right there on top of the list, but Mississippi State, I don't know. I don't know if there is an answer. Do you turn from Will Rogers? Do you throw Mike Wright in there? Because clearly it's not working, and that old saying, definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and that feels like that's what we've seen 3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah. Well, we got a comment here from Zach Arnett, Shane, Mississippi State head coach, of course, after the ball game, humbled. He's putting it subtly here. Let's kick it over to him.
That was as bad of a defeat as you could have, right? Credit to Coach Kelly, his staff, their players. They came out better prepared. They played faster right from the jump, and they dominated that football game. So I've done a very poor job in my evaluation of where we're at as a football team, and we have to decide how we want to respond to this, right? Because obviously you got two ways you respond to a defeat like this, and we're either going to do the hard things and the necessary things in order to get better, or we're not, and losing like this becomes commonplace. So we have decisions to make, right? As coaches, as players, everyone in our program, we got decisions to make how we're going to respond to this.
I mean, it's like he was reading from your notes there, Shane. You know what? But I mean, it's true. I mean, this is something every SEC coach has got to go through.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mention any names, Shane, because I don't think that's right, because it was told to us in confidence. But there were people at media days that said, this guy ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
I mean, they told us that, and I'm not saying that that's what I mean. There were fans calling for this man's job at halftime.
Right.
He was undefeated as Mississippi State's head coach.
Yeah.
I get it, small sample size, but you know this is he's 100% right. I mean, things have to change in a hurry, otherwise the fans will turn on him. And you know, I'm not near close to that because there's a seat. I think it's, again, let's go back to who does this tell us more about, LSU or Mississippi State? I think it tells us more about LSU being dominant. I don't know that Mississippi State is going to face a better team than LSU. So this tells me more about LSU being who I thought they were, and I thought they'd dominate this game. Who did you learn more about, LSU or Mississippi State in this ball game?
I would say LSU. I'm going to go with you there. Again, we thought this was a championship-esque team coming into the season. We kind of got off that wagon after that Florida State game, but we're back on it. You know, just like last year, it was a rough start, but again, the wheels are moving, and you're hitting it right at the right time when you're hitting that SEC schedule. So they're there. I am worried about Mississippi State. And let me ask you, both fan bases, Mississippi State, Tennessee, who should be more worried after week 3?
I mean,
because I believe
that's a tough one.
The expectations are a little higher in Knoxville than they are at Mississippi State. So that would lessen the load there for Arnett. But again, first-time coach, you know, say what you want. Maybe they made a mistake in their offensive coordinator hire here. Mm-hmm. You know, there's going to be some fingers being pointed down there. But going into week 4, moving forward, which team has more pressure?
More pressure, Tennessee, I think, easily. But I think I'd be more concerned if I'm Mississippi State, because we don't know about any of these guys.
Yeah.
And we've got, you know, many of them were saying we got the most accomplished quarterback in SEC. And, I mean, he looks awful.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. Whereas Tennessee, I mean, to this point, I know it's true. I mean, Tennessee got out-coached. They just looked awful yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's not sugarcoat that. But we've seen enough from Heupel to know he's an elite coach.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying. Now, he's not been so far this year, but I think the talent is a lot better at Tennessee. Home games are crucial. I mean, they're probably not going to beat Georgia. I mean, people are just going mad I'm even suggesting this, Shane. But if Tennessee beats Georgia, you know, crazy night, things break right. I mean, does anyone give a shit that they lost to Florida? I mean, you'll still be upset, but you'll be all aboard.
Right, yeah.
Is Mississippi State going to beat Bama? I mean, hell, they might. Bama's pretty bad. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think Tennessee can overcome this, if that makes sense. I don't know at this point in time if Mississippi State can overcome this. And again, I think they just played the best team they're going to play. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it could have been about 70-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it looked like the best versus the worst in the West to me. Whereas Tennessee, I don't know. I just have, we've seen more from Heupel.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question well, but
yeah,
I'm trying here. I'm trying to look for that silver lining.
You're looking for it, man. You're fighting. I was like, come up for air, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, Shane, before we move on, we got to let the audience know. We're brought to you by MyBookie. Head on over to mybookie.ag today. Put in that promo code, that SEC. That's THAT SEC. And they're willing to give you an instant 50% initial deposit bonus over at mybookie.ag today. This is the #1 way to help the podcast grow, help the podcast stay independent. Please, please, please sign up for mybookie.ag today. My goodness, folks.
We're printing money, man.
Yeah, all you got to do, fade our picks. You'll be rich as hell. And again, put in that promo code, that SEC. They'll match your initial deposit up to 50%. I moved all the way to the sticks out here in Tennessee just to help this show. All the least you could do is throw $100 on a MyBookie, and hell, they'll give you a 50 more if you just put in 100. So again, head on over to mybookie.ag today. Link in the show notes. Promo code that SEC. We're also brought to you by Game Time Sidekick Shane. Even though Shane's out on Joe Milton in the Game Time, he's not out on Game Time. Head on over to GameTimeSidekicks.com. Put in that promo SEC at the checkout. They'll give you 20% off your entire order, and we cannot recommend Game Time Sidekicks enough. This is a small business here out of Tennessee, but it's a Florida fan. I'm surprised he hadn't hit us up yet, Shane. He knows we ain't going to answer an email on today, but head on over to GameTimeSidekicks.com today. Promo code SEC. The entire SEC represented at Game Time Sidekicks. And Prize Picks. Don't forget, Shane. Hey, 2 out of 3. Once again, I'm on a streak over at Prize Picks. Head on over to prizepicks.com. Same promo, SEC. They'll give you an instant 100% deposit match up to $100 over at prizepicks.com. Went 2 for 3. That's another thing I love about Prize Picks. You go 2 for 3, you get your money back. You hit 3 for 3, it's a big time winner. So I'll take that after the week I've had here. 2 for 3 over at Prize Picks. Again, promo code SEC over at prizepicks.com. All right, Shane, next on the docket. Oh, I've been wanting to get to this one, Shane. Alabama, the decaying dynasty. Woo. I've got just about everything wrong, Shane. But I got this one right. I mean, they're god-awful, Shane.
Oh, buddy.
They threw in Tyler Buckner last minute. I told Paul Feinbaum, SEC media, he said, what's the record going to be if they have Buckner? I said 8-4. I think I overshot it, Shane. I mean, they might be 7-5 with that guy. They had to pull his ass. Ty Simpson didn't look any better.
No.
The guy we didn't see was Jalen Milroe, who, I get it, had down moments against Texas. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. But, my God, he looks like a Heisman candidate compared to these other guys. How can you just go back? You're just yanking guys. This is just absolute travesty. Tommy Reese is who I thought he was. Alabama looks like, hell, they may lose to Ole Miss at home. And I don't think that's going to surprise anybody if that happens. How fast the dynasty has eroded here. And I realize we shouldn't bury them yet because they can make adjustments. But, Shane, this South Florida, they beat South Florida 17-3. Mm-hmm. One of the touchdowns was in the final minute of the game.
Right.
So it was 10-3, essentially. Yeah. South Florida, Shane, is 4-29 in their last 33 games. Mm-hmm. They were the 111th scoring defense in the country. They look like the damn 85 Chicago Bears. I mean, this is awful, Shane. Alabama's out of the top 10. They've been in the top 10 128 straight weeks since September 2015. Alabama's been in the AP poll top 10. They ain't in it. They shouldn't even be ranked. This is a garbage team right now. I think Texas broke them. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I don't know what else there is left to say.
Dude, you take that 145-yarder out, they got 50 yards combined. You know what I'm saying? It was a tough watch. I mean, it really was a tough watch. I don't know what's going on with the cameras or whatnot, but, obviously we had some storms and stuff down there, but there's no excuse. This is Alabama. This is, quote, unquote, the best team in the SEC for how many years, depends on who you ask. Obviously, Georgia, calm down. Yeah. But again, it has that stigma, and then you go to a place like South Florida, and you're fighting for your life in the fourth quarter. It's over, man. I'm with you. At first it was a joke, and we kind of laughed it off, but I don't know. They don't have a quarterback, Mike, and short of them just going back to Miller, and maybe that's what they do, and open up the running game. You remember what was it, 2019 Kentucky Wildcats with Lynn Bowden. I mean, it may be a version of that, but at least that can get you to 10 wins. I think you know?
That's pathetic. But
that's
you
where
might be
they're at.
right.
Yeah.
But that's pathetic. Shout out Peggy, fan of the show, Shane. She says, and I think you'll agree with this, Alabama's in worse shape than Tennessee. That's the only thing that makes her feel better today.
They're in worse shape than I am.
But I mean, let's pull up the schedule real quick. And again, maybe Alabama will bounce back. Maybe. I mean, that's questionable. But
don't you feel like they will? Like, doesn't this feel kind of like
no? This is Ole Miss at home.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they have to rally immediately.
Yeah.
They may not, but they have to. At Mississippi State, I mean, they should beat them. At A&M, though, Arkansas at home, Tennessee at home, LSU at home, at Kentucky. This is that's a stretch. Alabama fans say, well, if we had 6 turnovers, maybe we'll lose one of them. Now I think, if you're being honest with yourself, you're saying, hell, if we're lucky, we'll go 500 through this stretch. And that's just, I mean, it is what it is. It's pathetic.
No, it really is. And this isn't, it's just, I don't know, man. I'm lost to words. I was watching the game. I couldn't believe what I was seeing,
Right.
And I didn't see any fire either from Saban. I don't know about you, but it was like,
Did you see what he said in the post game?
yes. That's what I'm
said,
saying.
I'm proud of them boys.
What? Who says that? This ain't Nick Saban. Have we tested him lately? He's sure he's not a robot, because that's not Nick Saban. Nick Saban's pissed off when he could be up 40 points and he's going to be fired up about somebody, and I just don't see it anymore. And so,
right.
That's why you start seeing the comments about the decaying dynasty and Nick Saban's on his way out. Maybe he is, man. Maybe he is, but. I don't think Nick Saban can fix this team unless he can throw the damn football.
Right.
So they're in bad shape right now, man.
Any chance, Shane, that you remember there was all this hype, best offensive line in the game? They gave up more sacks to South Florida than South Florida's had in any game since 2019. They can't run the ball, can't protect their quarterbacks. But any chance that they were just blowing smoke, revenge? Again, revenge year. We're going to be tough. We're going to do murder ball. And then Texas dominates them. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like all the air is out of the balloon. And they're like, gee, all this was just smoke and mirrors. And I'm not saying the whole entire program, because here's the sad thing, Shane. And this is what people are not understanding. And this is why I've been down on Alabama. And people, I don't understand it, like breaks their brains. Their roster... There's no difference between their roster and Georgia's roster the last 2 years.
Right.
You know what the difference is? They had a better quarterback.
Yeah.
And they had a better defensive player.
Right.
They had the number 1 and number 3 overall picks, and they still were worlds apart from Georgia. Now they ain't got those players.
Yeah.
And similar roster to Georgia, but it's
coaching too.
Yeah.
And it's not just Nick Saban. It's
Right.
who he's hired the last
Horrible
2 times.
hires.
And I've got no life from either one of you go Bill O'Brien. I mean, that experiment failed, and then we go out and we get Tommy. Like that's our answer. That's our saving grace right there. Because of all the wonderful shit he did in Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you guys got money down there in Tuscaloosa. You can hire somebody. So
right.
we went that route, and we're wondering why we're not productive, because you have terrible coaches. So,
right. Well, speaking of terrible, Shane,
God.
The lock of the week from Cousin Shane strikes again. And let's just go directly to the call, Shane, because not only did Arkansas fail to cover, but BYU won outright 38-31. Let's kick it over. This is our final call. This Arkansas fan, he's mad, Shane. He is mad.
Well, Cousin Shane, I'm going to say this. Hot damn you for picking Arkansas as your damn pick of the damn week. Because this is your damn fault, brother. And if you're gonna pick somebody, the game ain't even over. Hot damn. But I just know the outcome of you and your shitty picks. And I can't wait for you guys to come next year for the Tennessee game. But never pick the Arkansas Razorbacks again. All right? Right. That's all I got to say. Go Hogs. Love the show. Bye.
the old Shane, the Shane curse.
Yeah.
Man, they're letting you have it in the comments here too,
I
Shane.
know, man.
Why would you curse these beloved Razorbacks, Shane? You threw that gauntlet down. The cousin Shane curse, they're calling it. And we all just want to know, well, don't give it away now, but my God, are you just going to curse Florida the rest of the year? You going to curse Georgia the rest of the year? Who are you looking to curse next season?
Well,
or next week, sorry.
Dude, I'm not looking to lose money. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm at that point where it feels like that. Like, it's my job to rip the heart out of some fan base out there. And Arkansas, I didn't want that. I thought they would help me. They were like my life preserver. You know what I'm saying? I'm drowning and I'm reaching up. And I thought, Sam Pittman's got me. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get me, man. The Mormons kicked our ass. You know what I'm saying? And but
they're the only ones nice enough. They haven't made that comment go viral. Every where you said they're going to be drinking beer, they're going to need a beer and all that. Every other fan base, they're like,
oh, they're all like, we'll pray for him. He needs it. That's what I say what you want, man. I've been hurt by BYU. Don't forget they came up and they beat Tennessee a few years back. That was a tough one, but it was a tough loss. But there's no reason that Arkansas should have lost this game, in my opinion. They had opportunity. I mean, after that, Satania, or I can't say his name, had that, they're up 14-0. There was I was like, we got it, man. I'm back, baby. And I know Arkansas felt it too. You guys were just, you were there. This is the Arkansas that I promised you. This is the Arkansas we were expecting. And then all of a sudden it's like, nah. No, you've enjoyed it too much. Here you go. And they dink and dunk, and they get down there. And some of you talk about play calling.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on Dan. I don't know what the fuck he was. I'm sorry. I don't know what he was doing a few times, but it's like, what are you doing? Why are you in shotgun? You know what I'm saying? You just need one damn yard. It felt like Butch Jones was over there or something with a clipboard. So that part drove me nuts. But again, you got an opportunity to tie this game, and what do? Self-inflicted wounds all the way down the field. This offensive line held and hurt and did everything they could to make sure. I mean, KJ Jefferson literally had to go 200 yards on that final drive to try to win by all the penalties that were created.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this feels like this year's version of Kentucky, Shane.
Yeah.
Where we're waving the flag. This O-line is a problem. We'll have confidence in Sam Pittman. He'll get it fixed. They ain't getting it fixed, brother.
No.
This is, you're right. 14 penalties, Shane.
Jeez.
4 holdings, 3 false starts. And this is a Arkansas that opened the game. A.J. Green, 55-yard touchdown. Satania, 88-yard punt return. When you have that at home against a BYU, you're up 14-0. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
This is a game we're going to dominate. We're going to crush this team. I mean, credit BYU for hanging in there, but this is a game there's almost no excuse to lose, especially when you jump up 14-0. It's just one penalty after another. And people, I get it. KJ was not elite by any means, but if they can't block for him, and every time he makes a damn play, there's a holding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what the guy's supposed to do. I can't believe that we're at this point where Arkansas, their defense, they had some blown assignments and there were some trick plays and stuff, but defense still has made great strides. I think we nailed it with some of these receivers. Luke Haas, the tight end, looks great. The freshman, these running backs are great. We've got all the pieces to have a good team, and the one thing that's holding us back is Sam Pittman's specialty. The offensive line, I just can't believe it, and it goes back to all the way back to spring when we're hearing all this great stuff about the D line, which they've been all right. They've not been world beaters, but it's because the offense. They're probably just blowing past this offensive line. They can't block anybody. You know what? So I just can't believe it that we're this bad, and this is not just like Kentucky last year. This is not something that can get fixed.
No.
I don't think at this point in time. Not after who you played. And, oh, yeah, who we got coming up, Shane? We got mighty LSU. I'm bringing up a schedule
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
And then
Bama.
Alabama.
And oh yeah, Florida. After 2 weeks after that, all of a sudden they look formidable again. You know, we were locking that as an easy W up there in the swamp, but murderers row for Arkansas at the worst possible time, and we'll find out. We'll find out everything about Sam Pittman's program in the coming weeks because it could go downhill quick.
Yeah.
Or, we thought Billy Napier. We thought they were down. They're up now. LSU, we thought they were down. We need a response.
Yeah.
We've seen a response from A&M as well, but we're going to learn a lot about them.
And I think the response can be had. You know what I'm saying? It's the offensive line has been a concern and was a problem, but there were some injuries late. It wasn't like it was our starting five that was there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So maybe through a little health or something, we can, I don't know, man. I'd love to have the answer, but the best guy to answer that question is the head coach for that football program. Like you said, they've got some dudes. KJ Jefferson, was this his best game? No, but again, it felt like it was like Chad Moore's KJ Jefferson when he's just trying to win it all by himself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be that way because he does have a lot more tools around him, and we got some young guys starting to emerge. That's what I love about it. It's like you can see glimpses and little sparks of how great this program can be, but then you just shoot yourself in the foot with another penalty or something. I mean, they had almost 150 yards in penalties. That's a ton of yards to make up. So
yeah,
got to clean that up. That stuff you can correct. The self-inflicted ones with penalties, you can clean that up. Even if you can't figure out your blocking assignments, you can at least not hold the damn dude. So
right.
I don't know that they've got. This is going to be. I'm not saying they should have a players-only meeting, but there may be a come to Jesus meeting over there, and maybe that's exactly what this program needs, just a lot of fire under their ass. And because you're not paying attention somewhere, either in your playbook or in film study or something. Somebody's dropping the ball over there.
Right. Well, who's not dropping that ball, Shane? Texas A&M bounce back, baby, 47-3. And this was, some people, they're jokers, but they were saying, hey, A&M's going to lose this game, you watch. But no, they blew their doors off. Texas A&M scored on 7 of the first 9 drives. No, excuse me, first 7 drives they scored, and first 9 of the first 10. So, they basically did whatever the hell they wanted. Connor Wigman's on fire, 25 of 29, 337 and a touchdown. 7 different receivers caught at least 2 passes. And I realize, this is not great competition by any means. We're not throwing a parade for them, but this is the response you wanted to see. This offense is legit. The defense, nice bounce back. Again, crappy competition. I get it, but this is the response we had to see to not go overboard with A&M crumbling. We've seen A&M crumble before. I don't think they're crumbling this year. I think still with Alabama struggling, it's A&M and LSU right now, and Ole Miss as the teams to watch in the West. They're keeping themselves in that conversation, so to speak. So to me, this was a hell of a bounce back for the Aggies. What's your thought?
Well, yeah, I think this is keep them in conversation, as you say, but again, not a lot of people watch this game, and I think that's good. Mm-hmm. As if I'm an A&M fan, you saw improvements from last week to this week. Obviously, not as a tough opponent as Miami, but some of those mistakes you made during that Miami game, we didn't see during this one. Mm-hmm. And if we would have had this style of play last week, they'd be undefeated. I truly think so. So A&M's back on track, like LSU. The West is starting to separate a little bit. And if you're looking right now, I know you did your power rankings, but I'm looking LSU. I'm looking at Texas A&M 1A, and then Bama, Ole Miss 1B. You know, it's still tight, but I haven't quite seen the separation like I have with LSU and A&M here the last couple of weeks.
Now, all that nice stuff about them Aggies.
Yeah.
Again, we'll talk about this all week, but huge game, undefeated Auburn coming into town this week. SEC Nation, all that positivity goes out the window if you find a way to lose to Hugh Freeze in year one with a team that their fans are fired. They're pissed. They're like, how in the hell you got us so low? Well, they have their opportunities Saturday to prove me wrong.
Well, and again, A&M, it's like NFL. If you've got some dudes that are making more than everybody else, they're making it because they're the best players in the league, and you do what you can to get them the ball. And it felt like that's what we did this week. Something we've not done since week one. And nothing against the coaching staff or anything like that. It says, hey, you know who needs the ball more? Anais Smith. Let's give him the ball more. And guess what happens? More scores, more points on the board. So it's like, it's not rocket science. Sometimes we overthink it. You just need to get your playmakers the ball in space, and that's exactly what they went out there and did.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about the Ole Miss Rebels? Speaking of staying hot, Shane, 48-23 over Georgia Tech. And it was interesting because Kiffin said Judkins was doubtful in the morning. Judkins played, but again, still not very productive. 13 carries. 37 yards. He did score a touchdown, but the star of the game was Jackson Dart, breakout player. A lot of people in the comments, and maybe they're right, Shane, they're saying Jackson Dart's the best quarterback in the SEC. 10 of 18, 251 and a touchdown. He also led the team, 136 rushing, 2 touchdowns. He had a huge I don't think it was a touchdown, but it was a huge run down the sideline.
Close to it, yeah.
25 yards per completion, Jackson Dart. I mean, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
25 yards per completion. Ole Miss took care of business. It was a little bit close in the first half, blew their doors off in the second half.
Well, I mean, this one was pretty damn close. I think 7 minutes left, and if I'm not mistaken, 7 minutes left in the fourth, this thing was still a touchdown game. So they really, there toward the end of the fourth, really pulled away from it. But Jackson Dart did great. I think the real heroes on this field was the defense.
Yeah.
They gave up a lot. Haynes King, we forgot about that name, you know.
Yep.
Aggies have it, but he's their quarterback, and he was able to
I had
move.
the perfect tweet.
Yeah.
I was going to do Haynes King beat Lane Kiffin before Jimbo Fisher. Thankfully, it didn't happen, but I was ready. I was ready.
You had it queued up. Well, but again, for me, that game, the Ole Miss had a chance to lose that game. If that defense didn't bow up right there in the red zone, I mean, and force Georgia Tech to kick some field goals, it was that old bend don't break thing. And kudos to the defense for making that happen, because they gave that offense just enough opportunities to win. So the scoreboard looks misleading. That was a sloppy game at times, but in the end, I just think the better team prevailed, of course.
Right, and I pulled up the schedule here, Shane. At Bama next for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
LSU at home, Arkansas at home, at Auburn. This game we're playing here, who do we learn more about? The next month, there's no one we're going to learn more about in the SEC than the Ole Miss Rebels. Are they contenders? Are they pretenders? Last year, obviously the schedule is much different, but it played out that way. They were 7-0, hadn't played anybody, top 10, and then the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
So they've been through that. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You go through an experience like that, you bounce back the next, and everybody doubts you. They think it's going to happen again. You put in that work, and you bounce back. So we'll find out. This is the team we're going to learn the most about, I think, in the SEC over the next month, and they may very well win the West with all these. Because again, LSU looked great. It was one game.
Yeah.
A&M, it looked great, but the one key game they failed it.
Yeah.
Alabama. They're failing everything.
Yeah.
So maybe it is Ole Miss. Maybe all these fans are right.
I don't know, and I'm not crowning them just yet, because they've scared me a little bit. They scared me with Tulane. They scared me a little bit with Georgia Tech. Because maybe it's just I'm thinking of last year too much.
Yeah.
That old Scooby-Doo meme when they tear the mask off and you realize it's a sucky team. I'm not saying Ole Miss is 3-0. Again, I can't say that about Mizzou and then not say that about Ole Miss. They're finding ways to win, which is the most important thing. But some of the mistakes that you're making in those two lanes and stuff, you can't do that with LSU. You can't do that with Alabama. So they got some growing up to do themselves. But if Jackson keeps playing like he's doing, he's going to put them in a spot to win the game. So it's definitely going to be it's shaping up to be a hell of a matchup next week between them and Alabama.
Now, how about Kentucky, Shane? 35-3, taking care of business.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something we've been saying about a lot of these teams this year. This was far from Kentucky's best game. Of course, Akron kind of sucks, but far from your best game, you win by over 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
That impresses me. 3 receivers with over 86 yards. Devin Leary's coming into his own, 16 of 26, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. But a lot of penalties, a lot of miscues, and again, you're still blowing the doors off. I get it. Terrible competition. But this is kind of the growing pains with a new quarterback, change of an offensive system, so to speak.
Yeah.
Kentucky's one to keep your eye on, with Tennessee looking like frauds. They get Florida at home. They got to go to Athens, of course. But that Alabama game, people will say, "Oh God, they can't beat Alabama. They host Bama. They'll beat Alabama by 28 points.
Yeah.
If Alabama doesn't improve, they get Tennessee at home. Kentucky is a team to watch, and again, they're undefeated.
Yeah,
and they ain't played that well yet. Of course, they haven't played anybody, but if they just improve, if they can build upon what they're doing, Kentucky's that's a team to watch right there.
Well, I mean, name a better running back than Ray Davis right now. I mean, running backs coming in, we crowned Rocket, we were crowning Judkins, and I guess Mark's having a hell of a season because he's the only form of offense they've had. And but say what you want, man, dude came to play this week. Receiving, touch, rushing, the whole 9 yards. So that's part of the pieces that we have been waiting on. Leary made some throws. Hell, one of the passes he had, I thought it was a sack, and all of a sudden, it's a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Those are the plays that is going to put Kentucky in situations to be competitive in the East. And nobody's really talking about them because you've had some cupcake teams, but I am seeing a team that's growing up slowly. And the schedule, what do they got?
Particular, just look at the away games because that's critical. At Vanderbilt, you should beat the hell out of them. At Georgia, okay, that's one. But at Mississippi State, at South Carolina, at Louisville, you can win all those games.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you will, but you could. And then at home, Florida, Mizzou, Tennessee, Bama. I mean, it's not crazy to sit here and say 11-1. I mean, everything would have to go right, but 10-2.
Right.
I mean, that is very, very much in play for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Well, and that's why a lot of people, were putting down Kentucky and their scheduling is because look at who they play. They got Tennessee, they got Alabama, they got Georgia, and then now you're like, well, Alabama's not as good as we thought they were. Oh, right. Tennessee's not as good as we thought they were. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, if you're a Kentucky fan, you're like, well, shit, I got to win one game. I'm not saying that's what it's going to ultimately boil down to because South Carolina's better than we thought. And, you can't count any team out in the SEC. But going into week 4, the stock is going up on the Wildcats, in my opinion, because as long as they stay healthy, I keep going back to that, healthy, get this offensive line still working its shit out. But if they can figure it out by week 5, Bruddy, Kentucky's going to be a force in the East.
Yep. All right, how about, I hate to even do this, Shane, but...
And let's don't. No.
Vanderbilt lost again.
Yeah.
The UNLV 40-37. Back and forth game. This was a must-win. This is a UNLV first year. Barry Odom was the head coach there. Yeah. Vanderbilt had their opportunities, got down big, made a rally, and they had an opportunity, Shane. They score a touchdown at the very end. UNLV's marching or got the ball back. They throw a crucial interception, sets up a very makeable field goal to win the ball game. What happens? Vanderbilt misses it. UNLV hits a huge play. Then they kick the game winner. And after the game, UNLV, I don't know if you saw this, Shane, they tweeted out the final score, the graphic like all the teams do. It just means more. Even freaking UNLV is trolling the SEC this year. It breaks my heart. And again, I'm not out on Clark Lee or anything, but we have clearly regressed.
I'm out.
And to me, here's the deal with Vanderbilt, Shane. I think because they just don't have the fans and the money and all that, they're not in the NIL. And that's how you get Mike Wright leaving. And that's how you get Ray Davis leaving. They had no one via transfer of any consequence. They try to keep players. That's who they pay. They try to keep players. They're not attracting players via NIL. And even their NIL is low. So maybe this game is now, it was already suited poorly for Vanderbilt, but I think it is even more. But we have taken a huge step back, and we're talking, 2-win season for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I hate to say it, Mike, but I think we've seen Vanderbilt's last win this year. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, even though I kind of do. It's been one of those weekends, but I don't know. I think we've hit the ceiling for Lee this year. Now next year, do we improve? Sure. I do think that there's some work being done. I think the stadium stuff, at least it'll be nicer next year. And, it's a build and it's a slow build, but I don't know. I'm not seeing the team I saw last year, this scrappy crew, just come up and fight tooth and nail to get, there's no reason that team last year wouldn't have lost to UNLV. That team last year would have even though they lost to Wake, or they last year, right? The year before they lost, or last year they lost to them.
Yep.
I think if that team would have faced this Wake Forest, they would have won. It's just a different program, and a lot of that has to, I never thought one person was that important, but Ray Davis was a freaking dude.
Yep.
And
now he's a dude for Kentucky.
Yeah, it sucks for that fan base to watch something like that too, because this isn't the first thing. It's not just players leaving; they got coaches leaving. Like if got a successful coach, guess what? They're going somewhere else.
Yeah,
but there's no reason any program in the SEC should be a doorstep. This is the final step getting into this league, and you're putting up a fancy stadium and you're doing this, but are you doing enough? That stadium, that Vanderbilt University is making just as much off these media deals as Tennessee is, as Georgia is, and Alabama is. Yet you're in the center of one of the most popular cities in the country, and we still can't figure out NIL and find ways to keep these guys on our campus. Shit, I'm a little frustrated with that, just because it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be embarrassing. We should not send any team out of this SEC afraid of UNLV. But there, said it. Sorry, Vandy. If you're still hanging in there, just keep hanging in there. I'm sorry.
It was the Tennessee.
I know. I'm just everything sucks. It rained all day. It's like.
All right, quick shade. Auburn beat the hell out of Samford, 45-13. Peyton Thorne, brother.
Yeah.
282 passing yards, a touchdown. He did have 2 picks. Led the team in rushing, 123, 2 touchdowns. You're never going to learn a ton with Samford, but again, this was a bounce back from a tough away game, taking care of business, setting up, and they're just ratcheting up these wins, getting into conference play now next week, keeping that momentum, and Peyton Thorne getting more comfortable in the offense. Robbie Ashford scored as well, so they're keeping with the duel.
Yeah.
Making defense coordinators prepare for 2 quarterbacks. How about it?
Yeah. It's Samford. I don't want to get too carried away. He did throw a couple interceptions, and
Yep.
it was ugly a few times, but Again, this is like the Vanderbilt of last year. You know, it's a scrappy club that's going to find a way to win, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, brother. And Auburn is 3-0. First time they've been 3-0 since 2019, I believe. So, yeah, I'm signing up for that. The brighter days are ahead for Auburn, and I think there's brighter days ahead this season. They're going to catch somebody off guard.
Yeah.
They're going to beat a team they're not supposed to, and that's why you brought Hugh Freeze in.
And then real quick, Shane, I wasn't even able to watch Texas because it's on Longhorn Network. We don't even get that in this state. They beat Wyoming 31-10, but it was tied up going into the fourth.
Yeah, I heard.
I think they, reading their press clippings, you beat Alabama, and then all of a sudden that Alabama win doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
But I still give them credit for it. So 31-10 final. We got to clean that up, brother. And then I'm telling you, I know you ain't on board yet with this Oklahoma hype.
Not yet.
Blow the doors off on the road at Tulsa, 66-17. And they put in the backup quarterback, Shane, in the second half, and he was gunslinging it. Oklahoma's legit. This Texas-Oklahoma game is going to be incredible. Maybe, well, they're probably going to play twice because they play regular season. If they keep winning, they're going to play in the conference championship. I think that's for a playoff spot. I really do, the way those two teams are playing. So keep your eye. SEC might get two in the playoff after all. If we're counting them, I am.
You ever been to Tulsa? No. I haven't either. I wonder what they're doing over there. Not playing good football, apparently.
All right, last thing, Shane. Always love opening lines. We got a bunch of them here.
Yep.
Guess the opening lines for Week 4 in the SEC. Ole Miss at Alabama. What's the line for that one, you think?
I still think they're going to give Bama 3.5.
6.
6, okay.
That's
But I mean,
that's the brand.
Yeah.
You're betting on the brand right there because that shouldn't be. Auburn at A&M. What predict the line there?
A&M 11.5.
6.
Oh, okay.
Popular number for some reason.
Boy, that's going to be a close one.
Oh, that's too close for Jimbo, brother.
Sounds like a lockdown, man.
How about Arkansas at LSU?
Arkansas at LSU. LSU 13.
17. No love for them Razorbacks.
Man, lose one game. Look at you.
Mississippi State at South Carolina.
Oh, man, that's a good one. At South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
South Carolina 6.
Nailed it. You just knew they loved that 6 number, didn't you? All right, Kentucky at Vanderbilt.
Kentucky at Vanderbilt. Kentucky 14.
12. So you were right there. Memphis, Missouri. This one's in St. Louis, but still should home crowd.
Mizzou 45. Nah, just kidding. Mizzou. Give me, I don't know. I still think it's going to be sizable. 19?
8.
Oh, ooh.
I don't get that one.
I haven't locked them down this year.
UTSA at Tennessee.
Even. Aren't they like the number 1 team in their division or something?
Well, they lost to Army this week, just so you know.
Oh, well.
So maybe they're not all they're cracked up to be.
Yeah, I give Tennessee, 17.
Bingo, nailed it.
Okay.
UAB at Georgia.
UAB at Georgia?
Trent Dilfer, head coach.
38.
Damn, 39.
Oh,
You
shit.
about nailed it. And then last one, Charlotte at them Florida Gators.
At Florida. Give me Florida 16.
24. A lot of love for them Gators. Now, the hottest team in the country. Them Florida. Oh, man, they did not find that Mizzou lock joke funny. Let me just tell you. They are up in arms right now. But, hey, buddy, all right, we went a little long. A lot of games here. Anything else before we hop off the line?
No, I mean, guys, Arkansas, again, Tennessee. Yeah. I mean, we've been there. It's not our first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? My wife, she goes, I haven't talked to you because you were in a bad mood last night. And I was like, well, yeah, I was a little upset, and they just know, my family just, like, I'm not abusive, but they just don't like negative Shane. So they haven't hung around. But she was like, you seem a little better today. And I was like, well, it's not like I expected us to win a national championship. I didn't expect Arkansas to win an SEC championship. I did expect them to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
So, yes, did we lose? Sure. But again, that's the type of SEC we are going to have. I don't know if any team, maybe Georgia, finishes the entire season undefeated. You know, there are going to be losses scattered throughout. So how do you bounce back? How do you react? That's the key. We're going to learn more about some of these programs going into this week. So yeah, don't hang your heads. Do say a thought prayer. I will be, next time you see me, I'll probably be about 25 pounds lighter. So I don't, you know, so other than that, man, I'm okay, man. I'm okay.
On that note, real quick, after 3 weeks, nobody and their mother would have guessed this. What do these teams have in common, Shane? Auburn, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ole Miss.
Undefeated.
The only undefeateds in the SEC. Nobody would have predicted those 5.
And Mike, how much, I mean, out of those 5, do you see, other than, I guess Georgia is the only one you see being, maybe, has the opportunity to go undefeated, right? Out of those 5? Or is there another one that you're looking at?
Damn, they all play Georgia, so I mean, but all right, let's throw it this way, Shane. More likely, Georgia goes undefeated, or one of them knocks Georgia off.
Huh.
Auburn, that's at Auburn. Kentucky's in Athens. Mizzou is in Athens. Ole Miss is. Who's doing this damn schedule? They're all in Athens.
Yeah. No, I'm going Georgia undefeated.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the cousins showing up. I'll try to fix the video. Again, if it ain't the audio, it's the video. I don't know what the hell's going on here. We're trying. We're out here in the woods. But we're doing our best to bring you the best SEC content out there. I really do appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys.